and welcome back to the channel. My name is Skylar Dream, and I am a self-taught digital artist, crocheter, and small business owner. And we've got our wonderful Kageyuki in their corner. So it is the beginning of the new week, and I recently come across a platform that's referred to as Marmalade Handmade. And the entire concept behind Marmalade Handmade is that it's very similar to Etsy, but not really. So, one of the selling points for Etsy, especially when it first released, was that it was a marketplace that you could find unique items created by craftsmen or artists. Over the years, however, Etsy has slowly kind of become a little notorious for dropshippers and generative AI getting mixed in with a lot of these handmade and human made um, pieces of art. So, one of my issues with Etsy is that whenever I'm buying things or whenever I'm looking for something, I kind of have to go through with a fine tooth comb and verify, like, okay, is this an actual craftsperson or is this something that was just mass produced and then marked up? Is this an actual artist who took the time to paint and create this work of art, or was this a result of generative AI? So, over the years, I find that shopping on Etsy has become a little bit more difficult because as an artist, I'm looking for things that are made by other people. So Marmalade Handmade is very similar in that concept, but Marmalade Handmade does put a heavy emphasis on that everything that they have on their site is made by a person. And I was sitting this morning and I was looking through their usage policy and a lot of their rules and regulations. And they put a very heavy emphasis on that piece that it needs to be made by a person. And they actually do have a strict vetting process by the looks of it. And they want to verify that the person behind the work is a real person.
I figured it'd be easier to go ahead and do a screen recording. And before we move forward, I do want to emphasize that this is not a paid promotion. I'm not doing any sort of paid advertising. This is just a platform that I've come across very recently. And because part of the reasons for this vlog is to document and share my journey as not just an artist or a crocheter, but also as a small business owner, I did want to share this for anyone who's like me, barely starting out and trying to find avenues to help promote their own work. And if you're like me, still trying to test out different avenues and see what works for you, because I'm still in that phase of my business journey where I'm still figuring out what works, what doesn't, and how do I get my work in front of buyers. So yeah, this is merely me just documenting part of my journey. This is not a paid promotion. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not getting paid to do this, but it is something that I did want to share in the case for anyone who's in a very similar boat as I am, that we're still trying to find our way, still navigating the waters and trying to figure out how to get our small businesses to become successful. So to get started, so this is the Marmalade welcome page, and as I mentioned before, one of the biggest selling points for me for Marmalade is that it emphasizes the no AI, no drop shipping, and everything is either handmade or designed by actual people. So one of the cool things about Marmalade is that again, it has a very similar quote unquote function to Etsy you're where you have several different artists and products listed for you, and you have their product listings along with their prices, and you can go ahead and browse and explore the shop. And the place where this begins to differ from Etsy is that whenever you shop on Etsy, you're placing an order directly to Etsy. Like I said, I don't really want to call Marmalade a bulletin board. I almost think of it more as an artist alley in a sense, where pretty much everything that's listed here, let's say, for example, I click on this Toga P mug. So when I click on visit listing, it's going to redirect me to the artist shop. So it's going to either direct me to their own e-commerce website, or it's going to redirect me to their Etsy shop. So pretty much all the listings that are within Marmalade all link back to the artist shop, whether that's Etsy, BigCartel, Shopify, or whatever you choose to use for your selling platform. And so I think it's really neat because it acts like a marketplace, but it also emphasizes promoting the artists directly. So if you navigate directly to their shops, especially if they have things like BigCartel, Shopify, that's less fees that the artist would potentially need to pay out in order to, let's say, for example, versus Etsy, where Etsy, the fees kind of slowly build up over time because you are still paying to be on the platform. You're paying to list products, and then you're providing a cut of your sale to Etsy versus things like, let's say, Shopify or BigCartel, where you are paying a monthly fee, but with every sale that you make, all that money goes to you. So one of the things I really like about this is that if you link it to a personal shop like Shopify or BigCartel, all proceeds will go to the artist. So again, one of the cool things that I find is that eventually all of this stuff does lead back to somebody else's own shop. So not only can you check out the listing that is here listed on the page, um, okay, okay, this one doesn't exist. But one of the cool things I think because it redirects you to that artist shop, you can potentially go in and explore all their other offerings in one place. So I find that very cool, Marmalade. But in order to apply as a seller, like I mentioned, Marmalade does have a set of guidelines that you have to follow as a potential seller when you provide an application. So again, heavy emphasis of it has to be handmade, physically created, customized, or assembled by you, or hand designed, original design, manufactured externally, no stock or AI content. So they're really placing a heavy emphasis on that it needs to be handcrafted by a person or designed by a person. So once again, heavy emphasis on the no AI generated work, resold or mass produced items, drop shipping, or third party fulfillment stores. Um, and when it comes to the proof that you need to provide, because like I said, they do have a vetting process and they want to make sure that everything that they're listing is made by an actual person. Um, Name and email, obviously. Brief introduction of what you do and your creative process. Links to any shops, websites, or social media, photos or videos showing your work or process, and agreement to the guidelines. So they do have a 7 to 14-day period before your application is approved. And like I said, even though it means more work on my end to kind of get all what they're asking for together, I appreciate that they're taking the time to actually vet the people that they're um, allowing to claim themselves as sellers. So that probably wasn't worded in the best way possible, but essentially, I'm happy they have a vetting process to make sure that it's mainly artists and craftsmen on the site. So um, they do have. So just to show you guys what the application looks like, I started mine already, but I'm going to show you a blank one because I did list my name on the other one. But um, so pretty much you are putting in your full name. What I'm choosing to do is putting in my name and my pen name as well. Email address, how you found them. I found out about them through Instagram. And then the reason why you're applying to become a seller, for me personally, it's because I want to explore different avenues, especially when it comes to putting my products in front of potential buyers. And then they ask for your links to shops. So again, Etsy, Shopify, Squarespace, BigCartel in my case, and then any social medias. So then they kind of go down the list asking the kind of stuff that you will sell on your shop. Again, putting heavy emphasis on no AI generated and no drop shippers. And then you have the application requirements, which they do require a I know they said pictures and or video, but I think I'm going to go with video just to be on the safe side because I do have some pre-recorded speed paints that I can use. I could potentially pull out some of my crochet excerpts from my YouTube videos. So yeah, I'm planning to put a 5-minute video together. They also asked to see what your workspace looks like, the things that you use, supplies that you use, and to talk a little bit more about your process. Because again, one of the things that makes it easier to pick out a person who is a dropshipper or uses generative AI versus an actual craftsperson or an artist is that artists and craftspersons are going to be very deeply intimate with their processes versus a drop shipper or somebody who does generative AI. They won't even be able to begin explaining what it takes, what their process looks like, and so on and so forth. And I've talked about my process in the past, how I do things from art. You guys know that I do blue sketch, red sketch, line art, color, then render. When it comes to typesetting, whenever typesetting needs to happen, and then any last minute touch ups, specifically when it comes to printers. And then when it comes to my crochet process, usually that's either a pre-made pattern made by another person that I just crochet, or I do occasionally make my own patterns, which is a trial by error case where I'm pretty much writing things down as I go. I have the idea in my head, I might sketch it out, or I may have an idea of how those geometric figures work, and I'll just go ahead and get started and play by ear. So that tends to be my processes between crochet and digital drawing. And so, yeah, those are some of the things I plan to discuss when I put my stuff together. But yeah, I'm thinking of doing the video. So they're asking for 3 to 5 examples of previous work, workspace and materials, the making process. So choose one. Um, Eventually, by the looks of it, they do ask you to compile everything into video. So video where you narrate your process. So I think I'm going to attach this with a speed paint. Yeah, not sure exactly how I'm going to drive that, but I think it might be a combination of speed paint and showing off my different sketches. Um, so hand design items, you have previous work, design process. They do ask for speed paints, but I don't know how to fit an entire full length speed paint into a 5 minute video. So if anything, I'm just going to show the line work for one of the boys. Um, so yeah. You can also use existing social media videos, but they do have a video requirement so that they can see you actually working on the thing. If anything, to fulfill the handmade requirement, I may just get one of the dongos, and because the dongos I can crochet pretty quickly, so I can make because I do need to make more dongos, so I could potentially do a quick speed paint of the dongo, and the last day for applications is July 10th. So um, I do need to put together a video showing both processes. So they want to verify you, so they'll ask you to follow them on either Instagram or TikTok. Um, if you're using a pre-existing video by the looks of it. So pretty much the rest of it is just agreeing to their policies and terms. So yeah, that's what the application looks like. You do need to put a little bit more legwork if you don't have anything pre-recorded. For me, in terms of illustration, I'm kind of a little bit worried because any speed paint that I do will more than likely be more than 5 minutes. And the only thing that I have right now that is ready to go is just me working on line art. What I could potentially do is a section of that is that I just show like screenshots of the first sketch, the second sketch, the red sketch, line art, coloring, and then the final product. So that is also an option so that I don't have to put more work on my plate. So um, in general, this is what Marmalade looks like and how it works if you want to either explore it as a buyer or if you want to apply as a seller. Vacuum bag of yarn has made its return. Primarily because I had to pull out the pink, white, green, and brown yarns to make another dongo. I pretty much used the dongo to record the speed crochet that I'm going to put for my application for a marmalade. And two things happened. Um, One, I used the wrong version of the dongo pattern. So this was the first original pattern where they kind of look a little bit more elevated rather than scrunched up on top of each other. So I used the wrong pattern. I also placed the white dongo on the wrong place, but still came out pretty good. Slightly, not slightly, definitely wrong pattern. If anything, I do need to write down the correct one into my notebook. But we got one more dongo out of this afternoon, and I pretty much spent the afternoon touching up the videos for my application, and
crocheting this really quickly because out of all of my current crochet patterns, this is the quickest one to get done. Unfortunately, did not start today off on the brightest note. I have been doing what I can to stay productive and get things done. And while this is an art and crochet vlog where I try to document my journey and process as an artist trying to create an art career, there are times that I will share with you guys things that I'm currently interested in, whether it be anime, games, books, TV series, or anything that I happen to take interest in, especially because a lot of my work does revolve around fandom at the moment. And if you're a Love and Deep Space player, you kind of already know where this is going. So, for everyone who doesn't know, Love and Deep Space did release a sixth love interest into the game. They started announcing him and putting out teasers for him, and he already had a plan to release for July, what was it, 9th? In other words, next week. So, it's very disappointing that the first thing I woke up to this morning was the announcement that Valko is officially canceled. And Infold plans to completely remove him from the game, completely remove all his assets, and they do not have plans to move forward with a sixth love interest, which is incredibly funny to me because just a few days ago they were going on about how they've put in so much work into Valko. They've had writers, animators, riggers, like everything needed to develop a 3D game, cosplayers, voice actors, writers, artists, like who put in a lot of work and effort into not only creating Valko as a character and incorporating him into the story, but you also have the voice actors lending their voices. You have the cosplayers showing up to events who put in a lot of hard work only for all of that hard work to get literally tossed out the window. And just a few days ago, they were just saying like, oh, Valko is here to stay. He's been part of this long roadmap from the very beginning. He has been planned as a sixth ally. This isn't a rush decision. He's been part of the plan, only for them to backtrack and officially say Valko is no longer part of the game. I was full on ready to welcome Valko as my second main. And like, it's just, it's one of those things that I heavily believe in don't like, don't read. If something isn't to your taste or liking, it costs absolutely $0 to just say, hey, that's not for me. I'm just going to go move on and focus on the things I actually care about. Not hard at all. Easiest thing you could possibly do. Valko was not taking away from your experience. Valko was just going to be an addition for people that appreciated his character trope. And it literally would have cost you nothing to just ignore his existence the way you do, like the way you would ignore the other love interests who are not your main. Like, genuinely, what was the point of all the hate directed towards Valko when all we got from Valko was just a set of PVs and some of his initial advertisements and his initial promotional videos. Like, that's genuinely all we got out of Valko. He didn't even get a chance to get released. He didn't get a chance to tell his story. We didn't get to see everything that he could have offered to the game. Yet, off of one PV, all of you were already accusing him of some pretty, like, we don't even have in-story confirmation, not to mention the hypocrisy of it all, especially coming out of Silas and Caleb mains. And I'm not saying all, I'm talking about the ones specifically who have very volatile reactions to Valko's announcement. Like, there was no need to put in that much hate towards a character we barely know anything about. And not to mention a character that's obviously been, like, has had a lot of work put into him. Not to mention, add on top of that, like, you're tossing out the work of writers, animators, artists, voice actors, all the money that went into his advertisement campaigns. I know Japan had just recently released some merch including Valko in the lineup. Not only that, you also have the cosplayers, because they hire official cosplayers for these events. And not to mention Anime Expo, which was a convention I was slowly caving into going because they had a lads meet and greet with the official Chinese cosplayers. And guess what? Valko was going to be part of the event. Now they had to remove Valko from the event, and guess what? You have a cosplayer that no longer has a job, 2 days before Anime Expo. And now you have all the girls who signed up to do a meet and greet with Valko getting pushed on to the other cosplayers and overloading cosplayers who are already going to have to spend the day meeting a large portion of the fan base and now getting more added onto them. Like, genuinely, Infold, I hope you get everything you deserve by catering to the most toxic portions of the fan base. Because at the end of the day, what are you proving by enabling this toxic behavior? Like, it's one of those things that, like, I would understand if you delayed the release to address a few of the concerns when it comes to the game mechanics, when it comes to the main story. Like, that would make sense. Just take a little bit more time to address the concerns and then release Valko a little later than expected. But to flat out just say we are no longer releasing a character because you allowed the more parasocial, like, seriously, what are you proving and what do you hope to gain out of this? Because there were players who were readily defending Valko and trying to be considerate to your timelines and how you were proceeding and trying to release things. Completely removing a character just because so many people got up in arms. And if some of the things that I'm seeing posted on Twitter are anything to go by with how some people in China are taking Valko, like, and I'm not saying all the Chinese player base, I'm talking about a very specific subset of the player base that just took things way too far. Because, like, I've seen some things on Twitter that's like, genuinely, if a fictional man is making you behave in such a way that I've seen some things about death threats and defacing the Infold building, like, all because of Valko. All because of Valko. A character that you could have just as easily completely ignored. If any of those stories are true, then genuinely some of you really do need to take a step back from the game and go see some sort of therapist, because some of the behaviors that I've been seeing from bullying, harassing, and threatening other people over a fictional character is just flat out concerning. Like, genuinely, that is not normal, and you should not be behaving like this, especially if you're an adult. Like I said, like, I heavily believe in don't like, don't read. I grew up when DLDR was the rule of the fandom. If you didn't like it, then you just completely ignored it. It didn't exist. Adding Valko to the game didn't take away from the existing love interest. It didn't take away anything from the game. It would have added more content, more time between banners for your main love interests, and more reasons for Infold to give us more ways to farm resources, because now we have a sixth ally. They would need to accommodate for a sixth ally. And it's genuinely just disappointing, because what do you gain from enabling the more toxic portions of the fanbase? Valko took nothing away from the existing love interests. Valko would have added more to the story and more excuses for us to actually hammer down on more avenues for resource farming. And genuinely, it's very disappointing to see a company go from being very firm of, no, we worked hard on this is staying in the game, to buckling under the pressure in order to enable the more loud, toxic voices. The Valko situation is deeply disappointing. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do moving forward, because it's one of those things that I've already uninstalled the game, and one of those things that kind of happened on impulse. But yeah, I can't, like, there's a lot of, so, like, beyond just looking at it from a Love in Deep Space didn't release a character I really wanted, so now I'm just gonna throw a fit over it, there's more to it than just that. It's the different layers of how does Infold prioritize their player base? How does Infold actually treat their global player base? Like, and then the other part of it too is just like, okay, put enough pressure and you can make them do whatever you want. But what if the only pressure they'll listen to is a very specific subset of the fandom? And that subset of the fandom is incredibly toxic and incredibly volatile. Like, some of the things that I have been seeing, like, genuinely, some of you really do need to go check into Go see therapists, go check into mental health institutions, because some of the levels of vitriol that I've been seeing is just genuinely that is not normal. Like, you do need some sort of psychiatric care, because some of the things I'm seeing, like the levels of how parasocial you are to these boys, is beyond me having fangirl moments over Silas. It's literally, please take a step back from the game, go touch grass, which I don't think touching grass is enough at this point anymore. But yeah, there's just a lot of things with Valko getting canceled that implies a lot about this game, and a lot of info as a company. And like I said, it's just a whole bunch of layers to look on beyond. Oh yeah, the character I was so looking forward to is now canceled and isn't getting released, even though he has all this material already set up for him. But there's a lot of layers to that, because not only are you throwing away the hard work of your writers, your animators, your artists, your storyboards, advertisement, the people who actually put time, love, and care into this character in order to make him come to life. Like, especially as an artist, if I've spent so much time working on this character to get him fully fleshed out, ready for his release, he's been announced and he is about to drop in the next few days, only to see it get canceled out of nowhere, all my hard work down the drain. And I'm not just talking about the artists and the developers and the writers. There's also the VAs who are now without a job, who would have had good amounts of jobs lined up for the foreseeable future just so that they could portray this character. You also have the cosplayers who now do not have a job anymore because all of you decided to just be hateful and cruel towards something that could have easily just been, like, you could have easily just ignored. But yeah, in terms of my merch lineup, I genuinely don't know what I'm gonna do yet, because, like I said, this is a bit of a um, demoralizing hit. I don't know if because I still very much love Silas. I love his character trope. I love his storyboards. I love his story. I love Silas, and I love Valko. You can rip Valko out of my cold dead hands. I don't care if he's not getting released. He's still my baby. Moving forward, I'm still trying to come up with a decision. Everything is still so fresh because, like I said, I do have a lot of plans. Like, I had a lot of ideas specifically for lads, because I wanted to do things for the Catch 22 banner, which is my favorite banner, and I would have done a design for Valko just to get him to fit. I had plans for the next set of Myth series that genuinely, like, the announcement was demoralizing, that I don't know if I'll be working on them anytime soon. Like I said, everything is still fresh. Tomorrow, I may even have the impulsive decision. It's like, no, I'm not letting go of my love for the boys. I may not support Info as a company moving forward, but I still love the boys. But I will say, there are artists on Twitter saying that they will continue to draw for lads, and, like, I love them for it. And I'm thankful that despite the announcement, they're still trying to hold up a very positive energy within the fandom, and I deeply appreciate them for that, because again, I'm feeling demoralized right now, and I don't know if in the future I'll continue drawing Love in Deep Space. But like I said, I deeply love Silas. I even have a Silas figure coming in the mail, and I was about to put in a pre-order for a Catch 22 Silas as well. But yeah, like, it's kind of a difficult call for me to make, because even I have a difficult time leaving any game where I've put in some sort of financial investment into it. But like I said, today's announcement is still fresh, and it does feel like a bit of a blow. And I'm still debating if I'm just gonna continue drawing for the boys and just completely ignore the game and just keep track of the game over YouTube, and just watch the cards on YouTube moving forward. But yeah, it's just very disappointing to see Info as a company buckle to the whims of some of the most toxic parts of the fandom, instead of listening to those of us who were genuinely excited and were ready to hop onto the Valko train. It's just very disappointing. So we'll see if Infold eventually makes another statement in regards to Valko. Deeply disappointed in Infold. Deeply disappointed we're not getting Valko. And just really sad to see a company buckle to the more toxic parts of the fandom, because what kind of precedents are you setting that and pretty much when you enable and foster a toxic fan base, well, they're not on your side either, bud. You may be getting their money, but they are by no means on your side. But I digress. I digress. I will go ahead and put my rant down and actually get to work like I'm supposed to. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. It is now noon, and I still haven't gotten any work done for the day, and pretty much have been spending this entire time scrolling through Twitter, doom scrolling, in wake of all the Valko news. I will say it is very heartwarming to see solidarity come out of the fandom from both Valko supporters and people who are pretty just indifferent to Valko, as well as seeing a lot of that support from other Valko girls from the Chinese fandom. So yeah, it's really good to see everybody coming together and trying to provide each other moral support, as well as providing avenues for speaking up against this. Because there was a post that actually made a very good point that the fact that Infold makes this decision sets a very dangerous precedence for game development. Because if a big company like Infold is ready to bend to the whims of their most toxic portion of their fan base, then what kind of message are you sending? Because the second you bend to the will of these more extreme players who will pretty much complain at every little thing, like, then what are you saying? That if we are batshit crazy enough, we can make whatever change we want to the game? We can request for the removal of other characters at a whim? And I saw a post, and I think there are other like large player bases from other games that don't even play Love and Deep Space who are seeing this go down, and they bring up very good points that not only are they tossing out an entire character, they're tossing out months, maybe even years of work, alongside millions of dollars that would have gone into this character's development and advertising. So yeah, Infold isn't really setting the best example for the game industry at the moment, and a lot of people are noticing. It's just very sad to see that a character that was promoted and thoroughly fleshed out get tossed out the window just because of a few loud negative voices. And one of the things that I do want to further emphasize, especially from the rant, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it, but um, whenever I talk about this, I'm mainly referring to the part of the player base that has just been very vocal, negative, and very prejudiced to other parts of the fandom just because we happen to like Valko. And it's like you see it on both the CN side, the Western fan. The CN side just happens to have a bigger sway to a Chinese IP, and it's not a secret. Chinese IPs will always prioritize the opinions of the Chinese player base. Like, it's not unique to Love and Deep Space. I've seen it with Identity 5 plenty of times, where the Chinese player base is prioritized over the Western player base. And unfortunately for Valko this time around, the negative voices within the Chinese fandom were loud enough and admittedly parasocial and psychotic enough to push for the change. And just to further emphasize, whenever I refer to that part of the fandom, it's specifically the people who are just voicing very negative and hateful comments towards Valko's release. Because I know there is part of the Chinese fandom that was also looking forward to Valko just as much as the rest of us were. And one thing I will say about the situation is that it's kind of good it feels good to see a lot of the solidarity coming out of the Love and Deep Space fandom for those of us who were not only excited about Valko, but those of us who were pretty indifferent to him and still trying to support their friends who were excited for Valko's release. And I just feel right now for a lot of the cosplayers and voice actors who just lost their job alongside the writers and artists, and all of them just seeing their work just go to complete waste when they were set on the release. Like, as an artist, I would be devastated if my work just got tossed out the window and canceled when we were so close to releasing. Like, I personally would be devastated. But yeah, I guess I really should get off Twitter, actually get some work done, because my emotional support femboy is actually going to start fulfilling his role. So I'm probably going to go grab food, get food into my system, get off of Twitter, and hunker down on the work I'm supposed to be doing, because I also do still need to edit the crochet portion of my application to Marmalade. But yeah, gonna get off of Twitter. And I don't know if I've been able to voice everything that I feel when it comes to Valko's situation. because again, very disappointing. And I cannot like emphasize that enough. That Infold's decisions just one very damaging to game development. Maybe not, maybe a little bit of a dramatic statement, but they are setting the wrong precedents when it comes to releasing new characters and how they choose to move as a company. In my opinion, that you are kind of not sending the best message to your player base. One, for those of us who are global players, we've officially gotten the message: you absolutely do not care about us. We're just piggy banks to you. Like, which again, in my opinion, it's not a secret, but some of us were woefully willing to ignore that just so that we could continue playing the game and love our faves. But I guess with Valko's release, for all of us who were really looking forward to Valko, it's just, yeah, I can't really ignore that much more. Again, not a secret that CNIPs prioritize their CM player base. That's not a secret. Seen that plenty of times before. But there's also a certain threshold eventually that you're just like, yeah, this is it. This is the straw that breaks the camel's back. But yeah. Yeah, you know what? I am going to put down this rant for now and actually get to work. Just note that very disappointed about what decision they made with Valko. Good to see a lot of the player base from both the Western and CN sides come together and provide each other with some form of solidarity and support during this time. And hopefully we can influence any future decisions involving Valko. If not, Valko, you are forever loved. And Info will need to rip you out of my cold dead hands because I'm not letting go of you just like that. So yeah, I'm gonna get to work now. Got lunch together. These are just a couple of leftovers I had in the fridge. It's rice, gyudon, and some gailan. And I may or may not be a little hangry, but yeah, doing everything I can to get myself back into work mode. Tablet is out. Torbox is out. I got the last 30 minutes of A Court of Mist and Fury before I hop on to my next audiobook. And our emotional support femboy is ready to go. I also made lavender iced milk tea, and we are drinking out of lab equipment today, so I think this would be Valko approved. Cheers!
started listening to The First to Die at the End because I did listen to They Both Die at the End, which wonderful story. Absolutely loved it. And now I'm feeling attacked by one of the male leads because it's just like, bro, why is this literally me? Why is this literally me in that situation? But yeah, definitely if you guys need a good listen or a good book to read, I recommend They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. And so far, The First to Die at the End, um, it's starting off strong for me. So definitely recommend They Both Die at the End and the prequel First to Die at the End because barely only, by the looks of it, an hour in, 11% of the audiobook. And yeah, it hits and I feel attacked by one of the male leads. But thankfully, did manage to curb my need to get on Twitter and did manage to get myself set and productive. And good news, we got the femboy line. I did run into a couple of issues when it came to his proportions and some of his styling, but I think overall end result, he came out good. I did have to do a couple of adjustments, did fumble a bit around with his hair, his clothing, with pretty much almost anything. Not as bad as I did with the Catboy, but our femboy is now lined. I can begin coloring him and debating if I should change the goal of today's live stream to either start coloring these boys in or continue working on the Haikyuu DBD AUs. I'm also debating just flat out canceling today's stream because I don't know if I'm 100% up for it. So we'll see what the call is closer to stream time. Ended up streaming this evening, had a little bit of technical issues because good news, we are officially now streaming on both YouTube and Twitch. So I managed to get the plugin to work, did run into a few technical issues on stream, and yeah, not necessarily the best stream to date, but we are learning as we go. And the good news is we can now do duo streams, so I'll be streaming on both YouTube and Twitch in the foreseeable future. Good news, we managed to get Maki fully blocked in and started getting some of his details worked in. I'm still figuring out his profile details because I feel like his mouth area is still a little too long. I definitely do need to work on a few adjustments, but profiles have never really been my strong suit. Just when I think I finally have them figured out, I realize I actually don't. So, yeah. I'm gonna touch up Maki. And now that more or less the boys do have all, like, they're all blocked in, I'll begin slowly working on, I'm gonna have to figure out the Matsu and Maki leg situation going on there because those tangled limbs are, I'm beginning to realize maybe don't make the most sense, but yeah, this is the progress on the DBD AU, and I'll be moving on to getting more details onto all of them. If I'm not mistaken, Iwaizumi still doesn't have clothes. Maki needs clothes, and good thing is they're much closer to their red sketches than not. So from red sketches, we'll move into lining, color, and rendering. And yeah, and honestly, after how today went, honestly, just happy I got some progress done. Unfortunately, I did have plans to film the voiceover for part of my application for Marmalade. Did not get to doing that today. Just was very distracted and still watching all the news unravel in regards to Valko, and it is just turning into a larger and larger shit show. So that is all happening, and yeah. Not my best day, to be completely honest, but at the very least, we did manage to buckle down and get a few things done. Tomorrow, I'm hoping to get my brain in the game and really make good progress on a lot of things moving forward. So, yeah, that is the evening update. For now, I really need to go to bed. Thankfully, today has been a little bit more on the productive side. I did some tidying up and took care of a couple of chores that I've been putting off. Thankfully, tidying up has given me some time to get away from my phone, and it provided a pretty good distraction to really just step away and actually get something done. I haven't worked on any illustration or crochet today. That is going to be the plan because I realized I have not gotten started on editing the vlog. I still need to post my Anime Fuse planning video,
And I also still need to record the audio for the Marmalade application, specifically for the crochet portion of the video. So that's all going to be on the to-do list today. And later tonight, I will be doing a crochet stream, hopefully on both YouTube and Twitch. Aside from that, I do want to work a little bit more on the illustrations, get the boys colored in, and do a little bit more work. So thankfully, all of that has been able to take me away from my phone and being a little bit more productive today than I was yesterday. Still haven't gotten to the progress that I want to achieve today, but we still have a good portion of the day left. But I will say, I am still paying attention to what is going on, the rumors that are circulating within Twitter, and if the rumors end up being true, it's a whole lot of yikes. Not only from Infold's half, but also the part of the CN fandom that has been very parasocial, toxic, and has just been hating on Valko before Valko's hasn't even had a chance to release. Because I think there are two things that can hold true at the same time. Infold as a company has made very appalling and disappointing decisions when it comes to the game and communicating with its players. Right now, all the news that is circulating is all rumor and speculation. We have not yet received any official statement from Infold in regards to the entire situation. I will say it is very heartwarming to see the solidarity coming out of both the players from global server and the Chinese server coming together in defense for Valko, because I have seen a lot of the CN Valko mains who were getting drowned out by all the hate and all the negativity beginning to step up and start speaking out of what's happening, because they're just as unhappy as we are with the situation. So, all that being said, I really do hope for the best, and that best case scenario, we do get Valko in the game. Worst case scenario, I will be completely honest, if this means, I guess, end of service for Lads and Infold, if any of the rumors end up holding water and are actually true, I will be 100% honest. I don't think I will be completely broken if the game reaches end of service. And I say this as somebody who has enjoyed the game for the past 2 years. I love Silas. I've put monetary investments into the game as well. Like, I don't know, it's just the way that everything has been handled and how everything has been unraveling. It's just very disappointing all around from both the company side and the player base side. Like, there's a lot of foulness, and I think if the game goes away and it forces people to just move on, because one of the things that I have noticed and a lot of people have been highlighting is that the amount of parasocial behavior tied to a lot of these characters is high-key concerning. And not to mention, it's not like it's a bunch of like middle school, high schoolers going around bullying each other, which isn't right in its own perspective either. Like, bullying is never right. But you're also seeing this behavior come out of adults, which is high-key concerning. Because if your entire happiness revolves around these fictional characters to the point that if you're not getting what you want and you're resorting to harassing, bullying, sending death threats, specifically sending death threats and just being like all kinds of vile to other players who are actual human beings, then I think genuinely you do need to take a step back from the game and quite possibly get some sort of psychiatric help, because that sort of a behavior in an adult is highly concerning. Because nobody in the community deserves hate or death threats because they like a certain character. And if you guys are familiar with how I run my Twitter and any of my accounts, I love all the love interest. I'm usually a safe space. Like, doesn't matter what you like, doesn't matter what I like we can still be friends. Like, I've had friends where we just share different tastes of fiction and we still get along. And again, like, I just come from a time period of fandom where don't read, your kink is not my kink, and that's okay. So a lot of like behaviors and cultures that surrounded around, we may not be into the same things, doesn't mean we can't get along. We might have differing opinions when it comes to fiction, but doesn't mean we can't get along as people, because our taste in fiction don't reflect our IRL morals or how we carry ourselves in real life. So, yeah, I just think I'm at a point with how everything has been devolving that if Lads reaches end of service, you fuck around and find out this is what we got. It's unfortunate, but if it comes down to that, if any of the rumors hold water, then it's unfortunate. Best case scenario, we do get Valko into the game. I think compromise would eventually be, because what I've been seeing is the game goes on suspension for a little while Infold fixes what it needs to fix, which, in my opinion, Valko getting re-added and possible suspension would be the best case scenario at this point, if any of the rumors are anything to go by. But again, everything that's been circulating is rumor, it is speculation, and we don't know everything yet. We still haven't seen an official statement from Infold, but yeah, I am aware of how everything's evolving, and that has been on my brain. That's the reason I'm talking about it. And again, I love the boys, and I've grown very attached to them, but um, if it comes down to it and I need to move on, I will move on. Like, I'll be fine. There are going to be other IPs, there are going to be other series, and it's not like the memories I built with these characters are just going to poof into thin air. Like, if anything, like any of my fandoms that I've entered since I was like 13, 14, like they'll still hold a place in my heart, and occasionally I will return to them, which it happens. So I do actually want to discuss my plans with any form of lads fan work, because as I mentioned before, is that I had a heavy amount of work planned around the Love and Deep Space characters, and I think I've come to the conclusion that even if I no longer play the game and I no longer support Infold as a company by playing the game, or um, even if I return to the game in the future and eventually stop playing it, um, the boys have left their impact in my life, and I love them very dearly. And I think I've noticed this from a lot of other artists, and I kind of feel the same way they do, that despite everything that is happening at the moment, I will continue drawing the boys because they all hold a very special place in my heart. Um, and my plans moving forward, specifically since we're still in hot waters, I know a lot of people have been talking about boycotts, which I will be participating in personally. And if anything, at the very least, if I make any Love and Deep Space related posts, they will more than likely be about Valko. I do still plan to continue drawing the other allies, but for the meantime, it's one of those things that I'll be working behind the scenes, but I won't be posting in regards to any of them. Um, I won't post in regards to any of them. I'll probably just work on them silently behind the scenes. But the one I will be more vocal about, and the one that I will more than likely be posting because this is about him, I do plan to, regardless of what Infold's decision is in the long term, I do plan to continue drawing Valko alongside the other 5 allies because, in my opinion, he belongs there. He was part of this lineup, and he was planned to be part of this lineup, so he has more than a right to have a space alongside the other 5 allies. So, moving forward, I do plan to continue drawing Love and Deep Space characters. For the meantime, while the boycotts are going on, I'm not going to be posting anything in regards to any of my lads' work. So the Stripper AU, if I begin working on the second set of myths, I'm not going to be talking about them or posting whips in regards to any of those projects. However, if I do anything in regards to Valko in the time of the boycott, I will also be posting Valko alongside any of my whips if they're about Valko. So that is the plan. I don't think I can let go of lads just yet. I will continue drawing them, even though I'm not in support of Infold at the time being. But for now, yeah, I'll continue drawing lads, including Valko, and I'll go ahead and get to work because I still got other things that need to get done today. So Saturday update, I got home a little while ago from running errands and taking care of a few chores. Yesterday, I went out with a friend and we had a small little cafe day, and we brought our crochet projects with us to get a little bit of work done. So I thought I'd give you guys a quick update to some of the things that I've been working on behind the scenes. So first and foremost, Wednesday we streamed, and I decided to pretty much shift gears a little bit, and instead of working on Usagi Madoki, we got started on the base for a Valko Blobu. Hoping to get him done pretty soon, mainly because I do want to post him as soon as I can. And yeah, I've still been kind of getting distracted with the entire situation, and I will admit that I have not been very productive the past couple of days since that announcement. And yeah, I just keep getting attached to my phone, which is something that I should probably bring myself away from just to make sure that I get the work that I set out to do this week done. But we did end up with a tangent, and we have a Valko Blobu in the works. And I kind of have an idea for his tail, because one of the things with his tail is that it looks like it's kind of like I want to make a fluffy tail using this same kind of yarn, the Bernat Velvet. And I'm trying to figure out a way to do it. And I'm thinking of like, okay, what if I do like little spikes along his tail? Will that look cute? The other option that I can potentially think of is actually making fur. So I've seen this done a lot with doll making, where pretty much you can make synthetic wigs or synthetic hair using acrylic yarn. And I've seen the technique, and I have plenty of yarn lying around. So I'm thinking, okay, if I can't get the effect that I want using Bernat Velvet yarn, then we'll resort to using acrylic yarn to make tufts of fur instead. And yeah, this will be the first amigurumi that isn't, or rather the first blow that isn't entirely made with Bernat Velvet yarn if I do decide to go in that direction. So I'm gonna try the Bernat Velvet first because I do have a color that would be perfect for his ears. But yeah, Valko Blobu in the works. I might try to get him done as fast as I can. And like genuinely, all he needs is to get closed off, stuffing, and then we can move on to his tail, which, in my opinion, should not take long. But thankfully, I already have the bases already patterned out, so this wasn't too hard to get started. In terms of the noise, did finish him off stream, and this is pretty much crocheted in the rounds. If we just pretty much almost like the blobs, if we just kept going in rounds, but beginning with a base of a square. Now, much as I love how he came out, I'm not a huge fan of how kind of more round he is. I do want sharper corners when it comes to Usagi Madoki. So I don't think I'll keep doing crochet in the rounds. And the other thing I was talking to my friend is that I did try doing tapestry crochet with him, and you can see where the green yarn kind of starts popping out of the black yarn, and vice versa. There are some places where you can see the green yarn. So I'm not a huge fan of that, and I think he also looks a little bit more of a rectangle than he does an actual square. So not perfect. He's still very cute, just maybe not the direction I want to take it in. The other thing about going with crochet in the rounds, this face is made out of 14 single crochet, while the sides are made up of 12 single crochet. So it kind of lends to kind of like that distorted feel that he looks more like a rectangle than an actual cube. Um, so while I was with my friend, I did get started on Usagi Madoki number 2. So number 2, I went down a couple of hook sizes. So this was made using a 4.25. I believe this is going down to a 3.75 or a 3.25. I need to double check. But this is on a smaller scale, pretty much the exact same number of stitches as this guy over here. But because of the smaller hook size, this did come out a little bit smaller, because one of the things that I also want to avoid is when we do decreases here. Well, this version isn't really going to suffer as much from it, but these decreases here, it's very easy to see through the stitches if you overstuff it. But I do want sharper edges for Usagi Madoki specifically. So what I'm planning is, this is a square crocheted in the rounds. And so I now have the 4 sides that are going to be the black parts of Usagi Madoki. I still need to crochet the green portion. I could have done it yesterday, but I got very tired of just crocheting squares that I shifted gears. But I still need to figure out how I'm going to put his face, because the other option that I have is either continue with the tapestry crochet and try to improve on my technique. But if I'm going to continue crocheting in the round, it does bring a little bit of a complication when I start incorporating the green into these squares, because I do plan to crochet in the round when I make these. So the other thing that I was beginning to consider, instead of doing tapestry crochet like with this Usagi Madoki, we could either embroider his eyes on there, or I can try cross stitching instead. So that's where I'm at with Usagi Madoki so far. We're going to go into his second prototype now. I might try another prototype with this technique, but genuinely I do think this will lead to much sharper edges. So we'll see if we end up going with a third prototype using this technique and just swapping the tapestry crochet for a different type of embroidery method. But right now I do want to try going with individual squares. and see if we could get much sharper edges out of it. But yeah, as cute as he is, I think I want something sharper along the edges. And this is Usagi Madoki. And did start off on another whip. I bought a crochet pattern recently. This is the Creator. And essentially, it's a pattern for a jester. So in the pattern here, she uses a much smaller yarn weight and a yarn hook. So these come out relatively small. However, I'm working with the Big Twist Baby Bear yarn, so I kind of have the head already going. So he's going to be a little bit bigger than what's pictured on the pattern. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be doing blue, purple, and I'm pretty sure I brought the light green with me. So pretty much when it comes to the little jester, we only have the head and the beginning of the body. Um, I'll be honest, I've been impatiently waiting to do this pattern, so I got started on it yesterday, and I'm really excited. Um, I'm also tempted to buy thinner yarn specifically to make the smaller ones as well. But yeah, we also have our new little buddy, and that is the current state of our crochet whip bin, which honestly I was really just expecting to be working on Usagi Madoki. Then things happened, and um, I this one was just more of an impulse. Like I really wanted to make them so bad. I also have a couple of Digimon patterns that I bought a little while ago, and would love to get on to hop on those too, because one of the things that I do want to bring with me to anime fuse or to fuse anime is baby Digimon. I really want to bring baby Digimon, but there are a few that I think are going to be relatively simple patterns because Agumon is just one color and he's a blob. Sunamon is like an orange little blob with a horn, and the way his horn kind of just arcs in the back and is just straight up from the front. Genuinely, it's pretty much the same pattern I use for when I make my knife ducks. And personally, I don't think it's going to be that hard to make Sunamon's horn. So, a little rat, okay. But yeah, that is the state of the crochet part. The illustrations, I have yet to color any of the boys in, so hoping before this weekend wraps up, I'll be able to hop onto everything and get things further pushed along. I think the goal will be to have the boys colored in and begin rendering them ASAP. And there's only 3 of them to color in, and genuinely, they shouldn't take too long to color in. The rendering is what's going to take a little bit more time, and then getting lettering done for all of them, which I'm going to probably keep at a consistent font. So that is the update, and I will see you guys in a little bit. One thing that happened during stream was that Valko's yarn turned into a bit of a mess. I couldn't find the center pole, and so I had to resort to using the outside, but by that point in time, a good chunk of the center was out, so I was kind of fighting with Valko's yarn for a little while. And I just realized part of the reason why is because part of the center had snapped off. So this ended up being its own piece of yarn. This ended up being its own piece of yarn. So yeah, rewound the yarn. I now have two little skeins of yarn for Valko. I want to use this skein first, but I don't know if it'll be enough. I highly doubt it'll be enough to make another Blowboo. Like, I'm debating it. And I'm kind of considering saving this for possibly making a jester out of the velvet yarn. So I'll probably save this for the jester because not sure if this will be enough either to do the body and the hood. But by the looks of it, the jester is a little bit more of a mix and match pattern. So if anything, I'll save this for the jester, keep this for Valko. I am waiting on the vlog that's supposed to go up today to finish rendering. So I decided to work a little bit more on Usagi Madoki since he kind of got neglected a little bit. And so far, I think we're gonna have the much sharper corners that I'm hoping for. Although I did see somebody make a Rubik's Cube on Instagram, and so far it looks like they have pretty sharp corners. I don't know if, like, this Usagi Madoki seems a little round because of how I stuffed him. But
I get the feeling like this, we're going to get a much more sharper corner. And because this is the second prototype, I'm going to experiment with this square. And so this one was made doing some stitch work. These three sides were done with slip stitches. So so far, I think we're going to get closer to the sharper edges that I'm looking for. One thing I did realize when I started comparing this square of Usagi Madoki to these squares, one of the things I realized was that for this one, when I did that first row of nothing but increases, I did 3 single crochets into 1 single crochet. With these squares, I only did 2 single crochets and 1 single crochet during that all increase round, and then went to 3 single crochets and 1 single crochet. So I'm going to have to make that adjustment in the next attempt. But for right now, I will say that when it comes to the slip stitches, you kind of do get a little bit of like this. I almost want to say houndstooth. Like, I don't know if I like it or not yet. I'll have to finish the rest of Usagi Madoki before I make that judgment call. When I attach this square, I will try a different method and do something that may help it look a little bit more quote unquote invisible. But we'll see. Because this is the second prototype, I'm going to be trying multiple things at once here. And if anything, both these Usagi Madokis are both going to go into the quote-unquote oopsie bin. And so, yeah, hopefully I get more of the answers that I need out of this Usagi Madoki. And once again, instead of doing tapestry crochet with this Usagi Madoki, we are just going to go ahead and see if we can just cross stitch some of his additional black details. And yeah, we'll take it from there.
One thing I forgot to mention when I was giving you guys the update earlier, that was this morning being Sunday. Didn't film yesterday, Saturday, mainly because of the July 4th holiday, and I was out most of the day exploring a couple of events that were happening in the area, so unfortunately didn't get to film a lot, didn't get to really do much work. Pretty much the 1-2 hours that I was at home, I told myself I would work, did not happen. I ended up just crashing on my bed for a little bit and getting a little bit of rest before I went off to the next event. I will say, I really enjoy drone shows a lot more than I enjoy fireworks shows, so that was a really nice alternative to fireworks. So that was really cool, and did just sit outside for a little while and just enjoyed whatever fireworks were going off in the area. But aside from that, that was mainly my Saturday. This morning I showed you guys a little bit of more progress on Usagi Madoki, which we did finish the second prototype. And I have to say, I have quite a few issues with prototype number 2, so if you guys need another source of reference, this is prototype number 1. And quite frankly, prototype number 2 kind of scares me. I'll be honest, he low-key kind of scares me. So the main differences and techniques that I use for this Usagi Madoki, pretty much crocheted each square individually, and then you know how in sewing you usually do front face to front face and then you sew on the inside so you don't see the stitching or like the seams or where you sewed the seams. So yeah, try doing that with this guy, and you can kind of notice that there's like a little bit of ridging, which in retrospect maybe I should have done the crochet on the outside, but that would have led to the opposite problem, and there would have been raised edges along the edges here. I may try again just to see what it looks like with that type of crochet work, but I was also looking at examples online, and I noticed that rather than this dipping the way it does, it's going to rise out instead, but it does look like it does lead to sharper corners. But gonna give this another go with prototype 3, and I think prototype 4 is going to be attempt number 2 of doing crochet in the rounds, or rather a square in the round. One of the major differences is going to be that one of the suggestions that I saw online for much sharper edging was to use a back loop only technique when you are about to close off the tops. And in terms of decreases, they pretty much went with, they said invisible decreasing was more ideal if you wanted like the top to come out sharper. I don't know. But if anything, I might try 2 more prototypes. And I'm starting to reach that point that like, will I have Usagi Madokis or like a final pattern for Usagi Madoki? I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, these are our prototypes. So far, I'm still partial to number 1. Between the two, number 1 actually is not that bad in my opinion, and I do prefer the design a lot more from number 1. There's just a few things to work out in terms of sizing because he does look more like a rectangle rather than a cube. And yeah, so a few things to work out still with this Usagi Doki. I'm still leaning more towards this guy than I am whatever happened here. And another thing to note is that when I tried doing the face, I tried doing cross stitching instead. And didn't really turn out the way that I wanted it to. I kind of ended up with the same issue that I had with this one, where you can see some of the green poking from underneath the black. So not a huge fan of that. I may have to stick to the tapestry crochet or just keep it simple, stupid, and just do like a much easier type of embroidery. So, for example, this wasn't cross stitching, this was just like flat out embroidery. So, yeah, things I still need to test out with Usagi Madoki. Um, Gonna try this method one more time and try doing tapestry crochet with the rounds instead. But yeah, aside from that, we'll see where Usagi Madoki goes. I don't know if I'll have him in time for Anime Fuse, especially since I really do need to keep myself on task, which is one thing I've been struggling this past week. Like, I've just been struggling to stay focused, and I think it's pretty obvious my brain has been elsewhere. But yeah, no, I just really need to get myself refocused and centered because I feel like I'm falling behind. I'm happy that I managed to get the femboy line this week, but at the same time, ideally they would have all been colored in by the end of this week, but that didn't happen. If anything, I can get those done tomorrow really quickly, but yeah, just a little bit, just ending Sunday evening feeling like I should have gotten a lot more done, but just been very hard to stay focused for me this week. Combination of me not getting Valko and just easily getting distracted this week. Like my brain's been very flighty, so yeah. And also I was out all day Saturday and Thursday, but to be fair, Thursday was a very productive day because I was working on crochet. So Thursday was actually a pretty good day to get stuff done. Friday was just errands and what else was I doing Friday? But yeah, overall, I've just been very distracted this week and I didn't really get to finish all the things I wanted to get done. But overall, it is what it is. I will just have to like get myself back on track starting tomorrow and get to work on making sure I have the sticker designs that I want and the prints that I want ready for Anime Fuse before I continue working on any other crochet projects. So we'll see how things turn out. I'll just need to find better balance between everything. So yeah, that is the Sunday update. Wish I could have gotten more done by the end of this week, but it's okay. There's always going to be a tomorrow. Time keeps moving, and I'll just have to try to recoup and get myself back on track. So that is it for this week's vlog. And with that, I will say goodnight, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.